Hey, it's NPR's Book of the Day. I'm Andrew Limbong. There's some really solid life advice in today's interview. It's between Here and Now's Deepa Fernandes and Kelley Coleman, who wrote Everything No One Tells You About Parenting a Disabled Child. You can probably guess what it's about from that title. But even if you aren't the parent of a disabled child, I think it's interesting to hear Coleman's take on doing hard things and what she learned from a disability activist about making mistakes, which we all do. That's coming up after the break.
This message comes from Schwab. With Schwab investing themes, it's easy to invest in ideas you believe in, like online music and videos, artificial intelligence, electric vehicles, and more. Schwab's research uncovers emerging trends, then their technology curates relevant stocks into over 40 themes to choose from. Schwab Investing Themes is not intended to be investment advice or a recommendation of any stock or investment strategy. Visit schwab.com/thematic investing.
Parenthood brings challenges that are almost impossible to be prepared for, and there's no instruction manual. Parenting a disabled child brings even more complexities to navigate. If ever a manual could help, I know I oftentimes wished for one when I hit road bumps in raising my child with a rare genetic condition. Well, now there's a book called Everything No One Tells You About Parenting a Disabled Child. In it, author Kelley Coleman guides parents through getting a diagnosis, dealing with schools and doctors, and all the services and supports available to help kids and families. Kelley Coleman joins me now. Kelley, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
Kelley, I'd love to start with the framing your book makes front and center, and that I really appreciated. That parenting a disabled child can be hard, but hard is not bad. Tell me more.
Exactly as you said, we all have hard. My child is not tragic because he's disabled. It is just an objective fact of who he is. What is hard is accessing all of the supports that our kids need to thrive.
Yeah, and I think sometimes too, hard is how, and let's be real here, the ableist world, people around us, people who love us and care about us, maybe see our child.
So often, people, even those we expect to be supportive, are pitying our kids or are falsely seeing them as heroic and inspirational because they're disabled, when in reality, they are just kids. If they need accommodations, that's not extra. They are just kids.
You wrote this book, Kelley, because you've lived through this. Can you tell me about your family and what you wanted to share?
Yes, my husband and I have two amazing boys, ages 11 and 13. Our 11-year-old has an undiagnosed genetic syndrome and many subdiagnoses within that. In this book, I really wanted to connect with parents from our own experience and the tools that we needed to save so much time and money and stress for families entering into this world.
And I want to get to some of those tools, but before we do, give us one really kind of joyful moment from parenting both your kids.
An incredibly joyful moment that comes to mind is being on a fully accessible high ropes course with a zip line at the Painted Turtle Camp. It is one of many fully accessible camps and facilities around the country. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would see both of my children working together with accommodations on a ropes course in the air. And you know what? We did it really well.
That makes me so happy. My daughter just did the same thing at the Exceptional Needs Network camp here in the Bay Area this past summer, and it was really joyful as well. I wonder if you'd share a hard moment in parenting your son.
The first hard moment to come to mind is the first time he had a seizure. It was out of nowhere. We didn't expect it. Our neurologist didn't expect it. And watching it unfold, having no idea what we were doing, and calling the ambulance, riding to the hospital, not knowing what this was or if our son would make it.
Yeah. I wonder then, let's get to some of this book because your son did make it. Let's tell everybody. And
is thriving.
and is thriving. And that experience, one of many throughout, parenting a child with a disability, drove you to write this book. One of the first things you say in the book is that as parents, we need to get comfortable with disability. What do you mean by that? Is this hard for some parents?
I believe this is hard for all parents, and often is hard for parents who are disabled themselves. There is so much internalized ableism, societal ableism, and the reality is we need to get our information about disability from disabled people because it becomes not scary. It becomes just life.
I wonder if you can just, for those who may be new to the term ableism, tell us how you understand that.
Yes, ableism is bias against someone based on their disability. And unfortunately, we all experience that and have that in some level, and we really need to address that.
I might just offer a really simple example here. My daughter could never color between the lines, and I didn't realize how much as a young child, a toddler, a preschooler, an elementary school kid, our society expects kids to color between the lines. She still can't. But we've learned over the years that that's not important.
It absolutely is not important. Our son eats with a feeding tube and does not eat a sandwich and may never do that. And it turns out that's not important. He is a human is what's important.
So we're not able to go over all the valuable advice in your book. We'll let folks get a copy. But I have to say, every chapter talks about a different part of the process in parenting a disabled child. And I'm just wondering, it's everything from kind of the support systems that are there to purportedly help us. Why are they so hard to navigate, Kelley?
All of this is so hard to navigate. Caregiving is a full-time job in addition to parenting. And every state, city, even within cities, the supports and services are different and are delivered differently. We are having to learn these incredibly complex systems while we are adjusting to life as a caregiver for our kids. And no one knows how to do this. And for some reason, nothing is ever clear.
I wonder if you could share with us one tip, just kind of so our audience can get a sense of what you're sharing in your book. One tip that you didn't know that you learned the hard way.
I certainly learned to learn about disability from disabled people, and I learned to never leave an interaction with an educator, a doctor, a therapist without a path forward. The doctor may not know the answers, but you can always ask, what are the next steps? And they can lead you towards social services, insurance coverage, a better educational plan. People have the answers, but you have to ask and know how to ask.
And let's end this by talking about one of the experts, one of the disabled experts in your book, because you interviewed a lot of experts in the field. And I have to say, we love Rebecca Coakley. She's been a really wise friend to our show. But you really got to know a huge figure in the disability rights movement, Judy Heumann. And sadly, Judy Heumann has passed. But I'd love you to tell us what her advice was as someone who lived disabled. And the fact that sometimes, maybe oftentimes, we non-disabled parents can get things wrong. We may think we're doing the best for our child, but maybe we're such a deep part of the ableist world that our kids live in that we might not even recognize our own deep biases towards ableism. What did Judy Heumann tell you?
Judy Heumann emphasized the need to learn and to do better, to follow our kids' lead, to learn who they are and how they are functioning in the world. If we are following their lead on becoming the best version of themselves, we can advocate for the system's change and all of the big picture things, even if our kids are not able to. But if we are following them, we are teaching them self-advocacy. We are teaching them to be the fullest version of themselves. And that's not just parenting a disabled child, that's parenting.
The book is called Everything No One Tells You About Parenting a Disabled Child, Your Guide to Essential Systems, Services and Supports. It's written by Kelley Coleman. Kelley, I have a long list that came out of your book of very helpful tips that I'm going to be following up on. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Support for NPR and the following message come from GoodRx. Did you know GoodRx offers 20 popular diabetes medications for under $20? Check GoodRx before heading to the pharmacy and get up to 80% off your prescriptions. GoodRx is free and easy to use. Search any medication, get your coupon, and start saving. Even if you have insurance or Medicare, GoodRx could beat your copay. See how much you could save on diabetes and everyday prescriptions at goodrx.com/book. This message comes from NPR sponsor Shopify, the global commerce platform that helps you sell and show up exactly the way you want to. Customize your online store to your style. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/NPR. Support for NPR and the following message come from GiveWell. Over 100,000 donors have used GiveWell to donate more than $1 billion. Find out more or make a donation at givewell.org. Select how you heard about GiveWell by choosing podcast and enter NPR at checkout.